Welcome to Time Sink, the weekly podcast to let you know what's worth sinking your time into. We got a great episode for you this week. I'm your host, Sauce, and I just spilled vodka soda all over myself. I'm also joined by Mr. Hummer.
This week, it's Cassandra.
And Tito.
Hey, happy to be here.
We're going to talk about a lot of things that are out this week. We're going to talk about some old stuff that's worth sinking your time into, so stick around for the show. Hummer, you want to jump right into what you're doing this week. I know it. Or should I say Cassandra?
You got that look in your eye.
Oh, Cassandra is a special woman in a special video game universe.
Oh, God, I hope so.
Some of us have complicated emotional memories tied to that name.
Oh my God, I forgot.
Do share.
That's our other podcast. That's our relationship podcast.
Yeah. We'll take that offline. But yeah, tell us about your relationship with Cassandra, Hummer.
So, as you guys know, part of my passion project or the pet project a few weeks was wanting to build a gaming PC. And as I've gone down that rabbit hole and finally built my ain't much, but it's mine, power PC, I wanted to dive into some games that were, visually complex and would really get to see how this machine would perform. So the game I decided to dive into after, what this podcast is, really for, Overwatch, I decided to, really see what Assassin's Creed was like. And I've never actually played an Assassin's Creed before. So this was the first time really getting into it.
That's none of them?
None of them. So this was the first one, which was,
wow.
Right. First one, just dive right into the middle of the series.
You're deep into the series.
Yeah. Maybe you can give me a little bit of, because I played the first 3 and then I've fallen off, but I've heard the new ones are like a huge jump. So I don't know. Is it a lot different, Sauce?
Well, I'll let Hummer. I'll give you my thoughts, but
yeah. All right, Hummer, tell us.
Yeah, the game itself, it's pretty open world, but so far it's a lot of fun. It seems like the story is very. I don't feel like I'm losing anything by not knowing what happened in any of the past games. The only thing that was kind of confusing at first is when you show up in the laboratory and you're getting into some sort of avatar type body tomb that transports your mind into this other reality. But then in the middle of the game, or sort of towards the middle of the game, about 12 hours in, they break it. You go back and they kind of explain a little bit about what's going on, who these people are, why you're playing the way you're playing, why you're in this reality type deal. But I haven't found it to be challenging diving into it from the middle of the series, or I guess at this point the end, because the next one coming out is Valhalla. But the game itself, from a gameplay standpoint, first, the visuals are incredible. It's absolutely for PC. Yeah, I don't know how it looks on Xbox, but I'll assume it's incredible as well.
Yeah, it is good. Just
slightly blurry.
What frame rate are you playing on?
60, Betty. 60.
And what are you playing on 1080?
Yeah.
Okay, so I played in 4K. So would you back
off?
Wow. There's actually a good argument out there on the Reddit forum, PC Master Race. That's the 4K monitors are worthless. It's completely worthless that you sacrifice the frame rate for the 4K. So you might as well just drop down to a 1080, play at the higher frame rate, or play at a 144 megahertz monitor.
I just want everybody to know they can't see us right now. Hummer ripped off his shirt and showed his Master Race tattoo across his chest to all of us.
He looks very impressive, and his rationale for 1080 over 4K makes you look smaller, like you've shrunken in your seat a little bit.
If he was trying to intimidate me, it worked.
I only got that because I did see a meme on Reddit today that was talking about Xbox fans. Xbox, oh yeah, we get the Xbox Series X will be 4K. Sony fans, ask people on PC Master Race to explain to you that 4K is worthless, and that 4440, 1440 is the real hero.
All I know is I'm throwing my 4K TV in the garbage as soon as this podcast is over.
But not only are the visuals great, the gameplay itself is phenomenal. Like the stories that you're going into, like even from the very beginning, like you start off on this island. I can't remember names of these islands, but either way, you're set in ancient Greece. The map is gigantic on that scale. It's a massive open world game. And even right from the beginning, they kind of throw you right into it. It's not like this learning curve, if you would, of these kind of simple quests. And then, you get about to level 6 or 7, and all of a sudden, you're supposed to set sail into the world, leave home tree. And all of a sudden, boom, it just goes in this massive cinematic, welcome to Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Right as you're just anticipating what's going to happen next, because the next quest that they're setting you up on, it's incredible. And I don't want to give spoilers at this point. Going any more detailed into the story will leave some massive spoilers ahead.
That was a sick home tree reference too, by the way. But no, yeah, it is very cinematic. So I played it on Xbox One X. It looked great. Frame rate conversation aside, but there's Assassin's Creed 1, 2, 3, 4 is Black Flag, and then there's 10 other ones that I can't remember the names of them all. It's like Syndicate, and I don't even remember. But with Assassin's Creed Origins, they kind of rebooted the franchise, or the way that the games are played, because before they were very linear experience. Yeah, it was open world, but you're running from objective to objective. This is the new style is super, super open world. So Assassin's Creed was Origins was ancient Egypt, and they kind of dropped most of the overall story, the overall narrative between all the games. So you don't need to play any of the games, because I didn't even play Assassin's Creed Origin. I got Odyssey, which is the ancient Greece one, because it's on sale. And if no one told me it was an Assassin's Creed game, I wouldn't really know, because it has not a lot of ties to the overall stuff. But it's there if you're a fan of the franchise. It's just a really fun open world game. You can sail to all this huge giant map, anywhere on the map, assassinate people, do fun stuff. But the story's really good. It's really interesting. You get invested in the characters. There's a system, I forget what it's called, a bounty hunter system, or a mercenary system, where there's constantly people trying to track you down. And if you're on a mission and you're raising too much alarm, some of these bounty hunters can come in and really fuck your mission up. So they make it 10 times harder, because now they're trying to kill you while you're trying to do whatever objective you're doing. And instead of worrying about them, you can instead of worrying about them during a mission, you can go hunt them down beforehand. And it's really fun, especially because you can Spartan kick 300 style people off of ledges and kill them that way, that are way higher level that you shouldn't be able to. And it's very satisfying.
That's awesome.
It's funny you mention that, because there was a part in the game, these bounty hunters too. You might be a level 10, and this is why it's important to kind of keep track of it in the game, because there might be a bounty hunter who's a level 15 who happens to be nearby. You get the bounty put on your head, and all of a sudden he's coming after you, and you really are going to struggle with that big of a level difference trying to take him down. So so it's fun to track that. And but Saw said, one of the best parts about the game is trying to be stealthy, not always just trying to be brash, actually hiding, whistling to call people over, assassinating them. But yeah, the missions are cool. The characters are cool. Yeah. It's easy to get invested in it. And then just even the side quests are cool. It's not I don't feel like it's busy work going from side quests, where sometimes I love Grand Theft Auto, so there's not a whole lot bad I can say about Grand Theft Auto. But sometimes I feel like some of the side missions are just this again.
A good side quest really can enhance a game. There's a lot of games that will just add side quests in as filler, and you're just carrying the bag from place to place. But if there's a lot of depth and increased gameplay that you can put into a side quest that's well written. So it's always an excellent hallmark of a game if you enjoy playing the side quests just as much as you enjoy playing the main quests. Witcher 3 comes to mind in that case.
Yeah, those are amazing side quests. The Assassin's Creed has so much though. Like there's a lot of DLC. When I bought the game and I beat the main story and I like hunted down all the mercenaries, I didn't jump back into it because there's just too much and I had already beat the story. So I guess it wasn't enough there for to make me want to keep playing. But the story is great. Out of all the different open world games that are out there, and we're going to talk about them later after we talk about some shows and movies. It's up there in like the top 10 greatest open world games that are available right now.
That's awesome.
Actually, this is really funny. So it takes place in ancient Greece. Okay. And you've probably seen this Hummer. They call you Malaka a lot. And it sounds like the way they use it in context, it sounds like they're like the Greek word for like motherfucker. So they're always constantly calling you Malaka. But my brother-in-law is Greek, like straight up is Greek. And I called him a Malaka. He's like, hey, how do you know what that is? And like, why? What is it? And he said, it's someone who is like, who can't do anything in life because they spend all day jerking off and that's all they do. So that made it even better.
Yeah, Hummer definitely knows what that is.
He's a big Malaka.
Oh man, you guys are just the biggest Malakas I know.
It's a little fun word for you.
This podcast is essentially one big circle Malaka. Am I using that correctly?
It felt right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's an older game. I think it came out in 2018, so it's not necessarily new or earth-shattering. But having played it and having had so much fun with it, and just because it can really just take up a lot of your time. I know when I was actually going through what to buy, I was actually asking Sauce which version should I buy because it was on sale. So that's why I bought it. It was on sale for like $20. But to get the Ultimate Edition, which had I think like a remastered 2 and 3 included, it was like $40. But like Sauce said, he's like, this game is so detailed, it's so in depth, it's so long that by the time you get finished with everything, you're just not going to want to do the rest of it. So there's no point in getting a season pass. There's no point. So if you can just catch the base game, get it on sale. If you're just playing multiplayer games right now, you're just playing Overwatch, you're just playing Apex, you're just playing Call of Duty, this is a game I'd say pick up. This is a game I would say pick up and start playing it today. So I'd give it a 4. I think it's good. It's good enough that if you're not playing any other story-based game right now, pick it up.
Yeah. I at the time, I probably like when I was playing it a while ago, I would probably give it a 4 out of 5. I would say 3 out of 5 now. Wait till it's on sale, but it is on sale, so I'm actually going to keep it at a 4 out of 5. And there's so many like, if you can have patience, like if you don't have to buy a game as soon as it comes out, which I usually have to, you can get so many good deals and games for half the price if you just wait, a year, and you can play all these amazing games for at least you can get them for like, I think I got Assassin's Creed for some like Christmas sale or Black Friday sale. I got it for $10. So it's definitely something worth on your list. But if you want to be a little more frugal or save some money, it's gonna be on sale because they do stuff all the time where it pops up on sale.
Yeah, plus it's an older game. It's 2 years old. Valhalla's right around the corner, which I don't know about you guys. If you haven't seen the trailer for it, it looks fucking
It looks
sweet.
great. It looks great. That one's high on my list.
So how about you, Tito? What's hot right now that or not, because Assassin's Creed's not hot right now, but what's hot for you right now that you recommend or don't recommend?
So a show that's new out on Netflix, new within the last 2 weeks, that I watched with the wife that surprised me that's really good is Never Have I Ever. I think a lot of people are watching that right now. And from a personal standpoint, I hate high school teen drama stuff. Like I can't stand it. I can't watch it. So like My wife was watching it. She
You didn't like Glee?
well, Glee, Glee is an all-time classic.
You didn't like
Actually,
Friday Night Lights?
those are there are always exceptions. You can, don't name any more. Glee, the first half of the first season, of Glee is good, and then I think the last 8.5 seasons are terrible.
There were 8 and there were 9 seasons?
No, I think there were 5. But it was only like the first 12 episodes were okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack you. This is
I
very
can talk about
obviously- Yeah.
talk about Friday Night Lights, or talk about that. Highly recommend. Never Have I Ever. So I don't like those types of shows generally, and I think Netflix has a bunch of these on it where it's like teen whatever in this different, slightly abnormal circumstance and whatever's happening. I don't pay that much attention to them, but my wife watched it. She watched 9 of the 10 episodes and then thought that I would really like it, so stopped before the finale and told me to watch it. And then we rewatched them all together over the last week, and it's very good. It's really good. It's Mindy Kaling is the writer, and she was on The Office. She was one of the writers for The Office. She did the Mindy Project. She's done some movies that I can't think of off the top of my head, but most of what she does is pretty strong, and she's a good writer. And you can hear her voice in a lot of the jokes that are happening in the show. So it's really good. It's really funny. It's original. I really liked it. The premise, just to give you guys and I won't even qualify it. Like, you don't have to watch it with your significant other. I think it'd be funny just to watch on your own.
While you're being a Malaka.
The premise is the main character is 16. This is kind of the big conflict through the whole first season of the show, and she's like huge nerd, really lame.
I can relate.
Classic high school trope. And she in the pilot episode, she has a big crush on the most popular whatever dude in school, goes and asks him, just like gets a bunch of courage at the end of the episode and asks if he'll sleep with her. And you think it's going to be this big thing. He's just like, yeah, sounds dope. Give me a call tomorrow. And so then conflicts and misunderstandings happen from there. But it's really good. Have either of you guys watched it all?
I haven't even seen a trailer for it.
Check it out, and definitely check out. It's not one of those. I don't think it's one of those shows where you're going to need to watch like 3 or 4 episodes to really get into it. I think after the first episode, second episode, you'll be hooked. It's 10 episodes, 30 minutes, 20 or 30 minutes. It's an easy watch. It's great.
Did you say it was Netflix?
It's on Netflix. I would give it. I'd rate it. Yeah. Don't watch it tonight as soon as you're done and just binge it overnight. I would give it a 4 out of 5 though. It's good. It's funny. It's charming. It's heartfelt. There's a lot of nice characters in it.
So it's not worth watching tonight to Malaka by myself.
No, I'll give you some subreddits when we're done here.
I mean, are the high school characters hot or what?
There's so the 16-year-old, the nerdy one, has a cousin who's like 25 in the show, and she's super hot. And one of the good running jokes is that I don't know, I won't ruin it for you, but there's some great juxtaposition between the hot older cousin and then the nerdy 16-year-old.
So I just had the trailer playing on in the background, and I'm watching this as you're describing this. And yes, I can see why you don't want us to go and just watch it by ourselves, because in the trailer, the first thing is, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm here because I said I was going to have sex with you. Guy takes off his shirt.
It's a pretty smooth shirt off transition.
But good call there. That is also in Netflix top 10. That is a top 10 show on Netflix right now. So
yeah, check it out.
So what'd you give it?
I'll give it a 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't go out in Malaka to it tonight. But tomorrow, if the wife's around, pour a hefty glass of wine.
I make all my best.
Malaka to teenagers. That is what I'm hearing.
My clearest thinking happens post Malaka.
That's how I usually get to bed at night.
Well, I definitely put that on the watch list.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's something that you may or may not want to put on the watch list. So I have a show that I'd actually want to talk about for a while, but before I get into it, there was a special this last week from last week's episode. They did a Parks and Recs reunion special, and they did it for to raise money for to feed America for coronavirus relief. So did any of you guys see that, or am I the only one who saw it?
I actually haven't. It's been on my list since I heard about it, but I haven't checked it out yet.
Same.
So the premise is that they're all in quarantine because of coronavirus.
Nice.
So they're all calling each other to check in on each other. And it was very enjoyable. It was like comfort food.
Yeah.
It was nice to check in with the characters after a long time, and they did a solid they know their characters, so they did a solid job. Like, that's Tom Haverford being Tom Haverford. But, it wasn't like an amazing episode, but they threw it together online. They did what they could, and they did a really good job with it. So if you're a big fan of the show, it's definitely worth checking out. You're good either way. I mean, see it, don't see it. It's not going to add anything or subtract anything from the show.
Were there any noticeable missing characters? Like, did anybody famous not show up?
No, everybody was there. They had Rob Lowe, Chris Pratt. They even had Perd Hapley, one of my favorite tertiary characters. That show, no other show that I can think of nailed tertiary characters better than that show, because most show have their primary cast and then their secondary characters. But like, what other show can you guys think of where just the random like characters that pop up here and there are all amazing and have their own strong, solid personality?
Joan and the Joan Calamezzo gotcha dancers.
I mean, outside of
John Ralphio.
Oh man,
Parks and Rec was great. I mean, The Office sort of had something of that semblance, but I would agree with you. Like, the characters in that show that were like sidekicks to the secondary characters even had like strong presence in the show, where it's like, all right, now that you actually think about it, you can go through and start naming all of these like characters that are just like, wow. Like, Andy is another great one who ended up becoming almost kind of a primary character, but never really a primary character. But yeah, Parks and Rec great. Did Ron Swanson have any good Ron Swanson moments in that special?
Yes, because in real life he's married to Tammy too, so you got that got to happen. So if you've never seen Parks and Rec, that's a 5 out of 5 show. That's one of those rare shows that's good from the beginning to the end. Season 1's not the great, but it's only 6 episodes. But yeah, Parks and Rec, I would give that a 5 out of 5 because all the characters are great. The stories are great. It's made by the same guy who made The Office. He plays Mose in The Office. Mose makes The Office, Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and they're about to make a new show.
The Good Place.
Oh yeah, he makes The Good Place too. All great shows. Yeah, if you're sick of rewatching The Office over and over again, another great show that to do is Parks and Rec. I love that show. It's amazing.
And Parks and Rec's rewatchability, I think, is just right up there with the best of them. Its rewatchability is up there with Friends. It's up there with The Office. You can go through and rewatch Parks and Rec. It's so good.
Yeah, you just got jammed.
Ira and the douche. Crazy Ira and the douche.
Oh, I wish I had a soundboard loaded up for that one.
Did last week, I don't know if we talked about it, but one that I did finish up prior to our Star Wars episode was Schitt's Creek. And that's another one that if you guys haven't started watching that, it's you can watch the first, I think, 5 seasons on Netflix. The last one you have to have like a Hulu account or something to catch it. But Schitt's Creek was probably one of those. It's in that same ballpark of, it was great the first season. It was great all the way through up to the last season. It's so great that season 7 feels like it's something that should happen. But the cast, the way they decided to end it was to end it on their terms and not create anything more than that. So like the show, like, wasn't popular during seasons 1, 2, 3, 4. It really didn't start catching on until probably about a year and a half ago is when I started hearing about it. And if I don't hear about it, that means it's not, obviously it's not popular.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But no, they actually talk about the creator, how the phenomenon of the show is it's actually gotten more popular post production of the sixth season. It's like one of those first shows that's getting popular simply because it's bingeable, simply because it's on Netflix. That people are able to go back and check it out. But that's another one that I think I'd give it a 5 out of 5. It's that freaking good.
Wow.
The way they handle the characters, pretty much like almost the same thing with Parks and Rec. Every single non-main character has either like some sort of strong ties to it. They're popping up there here and there. They're funny. The writer and I mean, it's just there's not a bad thing I can say about the show. And one of the main characters, Moira, is just absolutely hysterical. The way she talks.
Catherine O'Hara.
Bye bye, or Patrick.
David.
David.
Is that Kevin McAllister's mom?
Yes. I really love that. I'm halfway through the first season, but I'm a big Eugene Levy fan. Like all those improv movies, like Best in Show, The Mighty Wind, Waiting for Guffman. Like those are all amazing movies. Eugene Levy is in Schitt's Creek with his son and his daughter. So I think that's really cool that he makes the show with his kids, and they're great in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's one that you should start watching. And then if you at least catch up with that one, I would say actually watch Schitt's Creek before Parks and Rec. Simply because
I would not say that. Wow.
I would, because of current pop culture. I think you'll be up with the pop culture status today, and Parks and Rec is a classic. It'll always be there for your enjoyment. But Parks and Rec, or at least if you hop on the Schitt's Creek train, you'll be getting some current great pop culture.
Okay, I can respect that argument, but I think quality wise, Parks is the better show. Sorry, go ahead, Tito.
I'll check it out, and I'll be the tiebreaker here. I'll let you know who's got the 1080p and who's got the 4K TV in this conversation.
You just got jammed.
Damn it. Self jam.
Are you watching anything else right
yes. now? I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant here right now.
Let's do it.
Taika Waititi, the greatest thing to happen to media in the last 10 years. Okay.
Wow.
Can you say that again? Five times fast.
Taika Waititi. He's amazing. So he directed
Twist
the funniest.
My
I'm going to ignore that one. He directed the best episode out of The Mandalorian. He made Thor Ragnarok. He made Jojo Rabbit. What else is he doing? He's a genius director, a genius comedy director that can also nail action. That's very rare. Which I didn't realize on the episode that they did of the Making the Mandalorian, he had a art background. And so he really understands like how to frame a shot, composition, the color. And I think that really comes across in Thor Ragnarok. Just like the colors, how beautiful it looked, but at the same time, how well it was made. So Taika started off, one of the first movies he ever made. He wrote and made it with Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords. It's called What We Do in the Shadows. It was a movie where they played vampires and lived in a house, and it's comedy. And it's pretty funny, definitely worth checking out. But they turned it into an American TV show. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So Taika produces it, and he was in one episode so far. But the cast that they got to do the American version of the TV show has Matt Berry in the cast. And Matt Berry is one of my favorite actors of all time. He is like the British overdramatic version of Jack Black. And he is so funny. Every time he talks, every way he delivers and overplays every line is genius in whatever show he's in. I first saw him in the IT Crowd, which is another show on Netflix you can check out, which is, if you're looking for a comedy, it's a British show, so it's only like 6 episodes and there's 3 seasons. Really funny because of Matt Berry. He is amazing, but it doesn't come until season 2. He's so goddamn funny. I love him so much. And so he's in this show, which makes it great. They're in the 2nd season right now. So they're vampires. They all live in a house. But my favorite is they added a energy vampire to the cast. So instead of him sucking blood, he just kind of like talks to people and saps some of their energy and like lives off of it. It's super funny. This show is great. It's on FX. I would definitely add it to your list if you're looking for a comedy to watch. The first season's like 10 episodes. Definitely solid 4 out of 5. Directed by Taika. It's got Matt Berry. It's funny. I mean, what else do you want?
Nice. I'm trying to think of I can like see his face, but I'm trying to think of other stuff that he's in.
Who?
Matt Berry.
He's in he was in a lot of like Adult Swim late night. Yeah, that's him. Hummer's got him as his
yes. Okay.
He talks like this.
He's apparently in one episode of Archer. He's in of random stuff.
He's in an episode of Community. He's the grifting teacher.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's great.
I'm surprised we haven't talked about. Or I think Archer is a series that deserves a whole show to itself.
We could definitely talk about Archer, but we're starting to run over on time here.
Yeah.
Hey Lana. Hey Lana. We're in a zone, and there's danger. What kind of zone are we in?
Man,
the danger
zone. He went for it.
I haven't seen Archer in a long time, but man, it holds up. We'll talk about that another time for sure.
There's just so much to watch right now.
Yeah, it's a golden age of content.
So that was a good list of what's out right now, stuff that's newer. So if you think it's worth your time, definitely check it out. But now we're going to dive into stuff that's a little bit older. I actually want to start because I don't know if it's me or the vodka sodas, but doing this podcast is making me go back. So we like to break it down, if you guys can't tell, and just talking about what's new out right now worth sinking your time into, what's older worth sinking your time into, and then just like stuff that's like personal or stuff that we're working on or want to talk about. So as I'm looking up more older movies to watch and retro stuff, it's making me realize there's just a treasure trove of stuff out there I've never seen. And, sometimes you get into that funk of like, there's nothing on Netflix. I don't know what to watch. There's nothing out there. Just start diving into the classics or what, the popular movies that people have never, or people are always talking about that you never got a chance to. It's great. I'm having a great time. I rewatched Robo Cop. I know you guys did that already.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing this. You're shockingly ignorant on older movies.
Isn't that something?
And most
where,
things.
Yeah.
Isn't there someone that you're supposed to picture? I don't know. Let's move on.
We're saving that segment for the end of the episode. Don't worry, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to diving into deep stuff is great. If you're out of stuff to watch that's new, there's just so many. So we've got literally decades of stuff out there. So what kind of what do you guys got?
So as far as the older movies go, I like Sauce have young kids. Try not to put too much violent stuff on in front of them, so when you need a couple moments, we've just been throwing random Pixar movies on. I don't know how you grade Pixar movies, other than we watched Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. I wasn't huge fans. I wasn't a huge fan watching them again, but Ratatouille, which I haven't seen in like a decade, is so good. It's such a great idea. It still holds up. And Incredibles is also obviously classic. So and I can't rate Pixar movies. Everyone is pretty amazing. You should go and see them, especially if you have young kids. But right now it entertains them. I don't know, Sauce. Do your girls like the Pixar movies? Is there anything they like in particular?
Yes, so I could talk probably about 2 hours about the quality of what there's like a jersey floating over Hummer's head. The quality of kids movies, because there's a lot of different animation studios. Obviously Pixar directs mostly only bangers. And yeah, my kids like them all. Obviously Frozen because they're girls, but
Right.
DreamWorks produces a lot of really good kids movies, and Sony produces a lot of really good kids movies. Like the Hotel Transylvania movies are very good. Sony also produced the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie.
Right.
DreamWorks does Shrek, Trolls,
How to Train Your Dragon.
How to Train Your Dragon, Captain Underpants. All those are very entertaining as an adult to sit there and watch them with your kids. I actually like rewatching them over because they put a lot of production value into it. You can tell there's cheap stuff that they don't get good voice actors. They don't put effort into the script, and it's horrible, and it sucks watching that stuff when they like it. But the stuff that you can tell was produced by someone who cares about the story, does a really good job with the animation, and gets solid voice actors. Yeah, there's tons of great kids movies that you can watch and sit and enjoy that when Homer finally pops one out, he's going to be subjected to finally.
Yeah.
Hey, we we're getting scientific about it, we had scheduled interruption time,
Save it for your personal project.
Yeah, no more Malaka around here.
Yeah, that's kind of the older stuff I've been looking into this week. Is Pixar movies. One thing that's not new, I'll just mention it quickly, that we're watching right now. I think it came out in the last year. Is The Outsider, kind of a spooky, murdery mystery. Not everything's as it seems. That I'm not doing justice with the description right now. Might be able to go more in depth next time, but I'm not quite done with that show yet. But so far it's great. The first episode is a great pilot, and then the first 10 minutes of the second episode are like really kick off and draw you in. So I'm excited to see how this show ends.
Directed by Jason Bateman, just like Ozarks.
Yeah. He's got his fingers in a lot of pies these days.
Gross. So does Homer.
Only one pie here.
All right, so we need to talk about some video games because we haven't talked about enough video games. So open world games. So talk about time sinks. Open world games are giant, massive 60 to 100 hour games that if you're looking for an open world game to play, you don't need to watch a movie, you don't need to watch a TV show, because these games will consume your life. So we wanted to give you some recommendations on what to spend consuming your life on.
Just to clarify, do you want to give a description of like what is an open world game? Is, I don't know. Obviously, Madden is not an open world game. What's the difference between Assassin's Creed 1 and the most recent Assassin's Creed that makes the recent one an open world game?
So there's lots of different genres of video games. You got first-person shooters, turn-based games, real-time strategies, platformers. Most of those games are linear. Like if you play Halo, you're going to start level 1 and you're going to go from point A to point B and you're going to finish that and then you're going to move on to the next level. Open world game means you have a map. Typically, you have a map. You start out in the first area and then you get missions around there and you kind of get to know your little area. And then the area usually just kind of grows and grows and grows until you can access more and more and more of the map. But you might be going from, like, you're in the map of the United States, you might be going to California. Next place is going to take you to New York. And then you're going to Washington. You've just got a big giant area that even just walking from one place to another takes a long time. That's why these games take so long. But lots of stories involved. They're usually more story based, kind of like a choose your own adventure.
Mm-hmm. And you can so you're not restricted to going. You're not restricted from getting into different areas typically. So
Sometimes
you might not be. What's that?
Sometimes you are.
You're not restricted to playing the actual story if you don't want. Like a game like Grand Theft Auto, you don't actually have to play the story after. Like, you can, obviously there's fun in playing the story, but after you beat the game, there's replayability in it because you're able to go back. You're able to, it's going to sound terrible, but you're able to wreak havoc, use some cheat codes, spawn in a helicopter, blow some stuff up, sneak into the military bases. you're able to just kind of go crazy, and they provide a lot of value. But then there's a lot of other ones like Fallout, the Fallout series, which it's kind of like that, almost like looter shooters. I think is what I've heard them called before, like the Division or the Division 2. I think would kind of classify as an open world game. It drives you to the next game point. Even your side quest, a good open world game, your side quest will still kind of push you towards the story, or get you closer to completing the story as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's yeah, they're really interesting. So Breath of the Wild, the most recent Zelda, probably one of the best video games of all time. Is a nice open world game, and it starts exactly like you were saying, Sauce. You have a character, you're very raw, you don't have a lot of skills, you start in an area, you build up your initial like skill set, and then that game in particular is great. There are a whole bunch of different directions you can go in. It's not like you're done with the first area, you go to the second area. It's like you're done with the first area, you realize that the first area is actually part of just a gigantic world, and then you can just kind of go. There are certain things you have to do to get to the end of the game, but you can go through those things in whatever order you want. You can explore as much of the world as you want. There are different corners of the world that like you don't necessarily need to visit to finish the game, but that heighten your experience in the game and make certain things easier, make certain things achievable that aren't achievable otherwise. It's that game is amazing. And that's I think more games are going towards the open world experience because it's a little bit more rewarding. Sometimes like Doom is very linear, and that it's very rewarding to just be on a rail shooter like Doom and just blow through hordes of demons. But it's also very rewarding to be Zelda, get a sword, go find your next sword, and just kind of make your own decisions and make the decisions that you have. Have the decisions that you make influence your own game experience. So like the way I played it, my link at the end of Breath of the Wild is different than Sauce's.
Yeah, and what you did is going to be different from what I did.
Yeah.
That Breath of the Wild, which is only on Switch and Wii U for some reason, is one of the rare open world games where once you get past the first area, you can run straight to the boss and beat the game if you want to. It's extremely, extremely, extremely difficult because you haven't leveled up or got more health, but it's possible. You can go online and watch people do it. Not a lot of games do that, but that's pretty cool. That's super, that's just go wherever you want and do whatever you want, which I personally don't like that much. I like a more curated experience, a more narrative driven experience. There weren't any really dungeons in Breath of the Wild, which is my favorite part of the Zelda game. It's definitely a good game and worth buying. I would give it a 4 out of 5. A game you need to add to your list, but yeah, there's no dungeons. There's that's a Zelda game. That's what I like.
I didn't know we were gonna have to fight on this podcast today. Man, Breath of the Wild is so good. It's like one of the best games of all time. It's all right.
See, I've never played it. I mean, and me personally, and I know a lot of people won't agree with this, but I think that Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of the best open world games of all time. The fact that game, I think, was originally released as original title, or not original title, but as a launch day title for Xbox One. And I think it was actually launched before Xbox One because I had it on Xbox 360. So we're talking that was 2013. We're 7 years into this cycle of Grand Theft Auto 5, and it's still played. It still has a following of people watching it on Twitch. So I'm going to take that out of it because if you haven't played Grand Theft Auto 5, it's a no-brainer. But one of my favorite ones, and it's an older one, you can pick it up really cheap, is Fallout New Vegas. The Fallout series I thought was awesome to begin with, but New Vegas was amazing, and tons of play time available there as well. I think it said it was over 100 hours of gameplay that's available for it. But it's kind of like that post-apocalyptic. You're still there, but it's taking place in and around like Las Vegas. Just don't get tricked into going into one of the caves. I'll just leave it at that. don't get tricked.
It seems like a good rule of thumb just across the board.
Did some man trick you, Hummer?
So no, what happened? Like this is for a little bit of a spoiler alert, but it doesn't. I guess it technically impacts the game. But if you go into like one of the Fallout shelters, like you actually get stuck there, and you essentially end the game. Like you can't leave. It's terrible. Like it's not a glitch. It's like on purpose. You go in there and you get locked in forever. You die. Your character dies, and you have to restart the game.
Oh, jeez.
That makes me think of so like the spiritual successor to the Fallout games is Outer Worlds, which if you have Game Pass, brought to you by Game Pass, they pay us nothing. That it's on there. It's most open world games are RPGs, so you're like developing a character. Like I want to put all my points into intelligence, and my guy is a super smart computer guy, and he can hack through doors and hack robots. Or you can put it like my guy's going to be super strong, and I can just punch people, and I don't need to shoot them or anything.
That would be a true fantasy experience for you.
Both accounts. So a more realistic way to play is what so this is another really great open world game that you could play, is that you can put all your points into strength, and you can turn your intelligence all the way to 1, and it changes the game completely. So like your character's too dumb to understand the story, and so like this is going to be a spoiler, but you can play in so many different ways, it doesn't matter. But you can like the main mission is, your main goal in the game is to like save your space colony from cryosleep. You can like be so dumb that you accidentally send the colony off into the sun to die, and the only way to unlock that ending is if your character's an idiot. So you can play through the whole game and not understand what people are telling you, and you just have to kill everyone. It's really funny.
That sounds awesome. I would love. Yeah. So a lot of open world games are like excellent, very highly regarded. So Breath of the Wild, Grand Theft Auto 5, other ones.
Red Dead Redemption
2,
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, I've like blanked for some reason there. Yeah, like there are
Spider-Man.
The new Spider-Man. Yeah, and I'm sure there are bad open world games out there like that I'm just not thinking of, but these great ones and a lot of the recent Game of the Years or Game of the Year candidates have been big open world games, because to create a game where you just drop a character or a player into a big world, have it be open enough where you're making your own experiences, but structured enough that you can build on those experiences and then get to the final endpoint in the game, takes a lot of forethought, a lot of work. And typically these games also have great graphics and intuitive gameplay as well. And so like they tend to be good games. It's almost hard to choose between all of them because they tend to be great games. And there's a lot of, this is a theme, a lot of thought and work that goes into them. So you can play any of these games. You'll have a great experience.
I would add to that too by saying, if you're looking for an open world game to play, like honestly, like I can't sit here. I can tell you, yes, it's easy to jump into Grand Theft Auto 5. It's easy to jump into Grand Theft Auto 4. Like you literally, there's no backstories that you really have to pay attention to, jumping from San Andreas or to Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5, you're going to get the new graphics, but do your research on some of these games, because like jumping into a New Vegas, maybe you had to play 4, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't care that you have to, but you're getting ready to invest a lot of time if you want to see these games and how these stories unfold. Could you just do all the main missions for the most part? You could. It's going to be challenging because some of the side quests are really there to help you level up to be able to get to that next portion in the game. So, do some research and read about these games before you choose, and make sure that you're going to play one that you really like. Like Sauce brought up a very good point about Assassin's Creed Odyssey not really being connected to the first 3 in the franchise. So you're not going to lose anything by having not played those. But playing Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably going to not be as it's going to be harder to follow the story if you have not picked up Red Dead Redemption 1. Sauce is shaking his head and saying, oh, maybe. But, it's just one of those things. Maybe you want that, though. Maybe you want the story of Red Dead Redemption. And as we're always kind of talking about ways to game cheaper, Red Dead Redemption is probably super, super cheap right now.
It's on Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass.
They just added it.
Yeah, New Vegas is on Game Pass. But, so you can go back and play some of these older titles, too, that are going to be cheaper for you. And they're going to provide you a lot of value, a lot of game time, a lot of gameplay. And I think Red Dead Redemption, when I first played it on Xbox 360, I thought it was one of the best looking games of its time for that console. I still think it holds a candle to the games that come out today in terms of its feel and its graphical interfaces.
I'm curious if Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my favorite games. It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm curious if Horizon Zero Dawn 2, which is coming out in the near future, will be a game that you can get as much out of if you haven't played the first one. Because the first one has such an iconic character, and the story of what happens in that game seems so central to that universe. It's hard for me to imagine how they would do a sequel without really tying it into the events of the first one.
So there are a lot of open world games that are newer within like the last 5 years out right now that maybe you haven't gotten around to. And what's funny is Rockstar made Grand Theft Auto and they made Red Dead Redemption 2. Grand Theft Auto's been in the top 10 number one selling games list since it's come out every single month. It still sells that many copies, and they still update it to this day and add more stuff to it. And it's like a 7-year-old game. Like, how old is that game? It's still number in the top 10 every month. That's insane.
I was reading about it. This actually came up today, so it's ironic that we're talking about it, that I read this. Grand Theft Auto is the number one selling piece of media of all time. Like, it's nothing has ever touched it. Not a movie, not a an album, nothing. It outsells absolutely everything. It is a multi-billion dollar game. If you think about it, it outsold Avatar.
Yeah, it came out in 2013. That's wild.
Yeah. And if you only played it back then, it's completely different now. And it's on Game Pass.
I've never played Grand Theft Auto 5 or the new Assassin's Creed. So
there you go.
Whenever I put them on the list, I'll put them on the list.
So what would you guys recommend for somebody who's looking for an open world game out of all the open world games that are available right now? So Fallout, Outer Worlds, Red Dead, Grand Theft Auto, Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, God of War, Assassin's Creed. I think those are all the big ones. What would you guys recommend?
Nice. Yeah, what do you think, Hummer?
It's so hard not
to
recommend.
Mention Grand. That one doesn't count.
It's so hard not to mention Grand Theft Auto. And I haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2. I did play Red Dead Redemption 1. Honestly, the reason why I didn't play Red Dead Redemption 2 is because I actually met you guys. It's your fault. I had internet friends, so we were playing multiplayer games. So I didn't really get time, and I didn't want to invest the time that I know it takes to play Red Dead. And my recency bias is that I'm absolutely loving Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I love that it's still a newer game, so you're getting some of the best in terms of graphics engines that's out there. So far, the story is phenomenal. And just like my dog, they have wolves that howl and dogs that attack you.
Yeah, for me, it's interesting because I feel like of the open world games that we have not played, Hummer and I we haven't overlapped that much. So for me personally, out of all the games, if you were like, haven't played any of these, what would you recommend to play first? My favorite, I think, is Horizon Zero Dawn. So I would probably say play Horizon Zero Dawn first, and then the new Spider-Man. The new Spider-Man, I think we mentioned it on a previous podcast, but like the new Spider-Man is amazing. There are a ton of older Spider-Man games, but this one is like revolutionary. I'd go personally, I would go, Horizon Zero Dawn, New Spider-Man, then Breath of the Wild. Even though I was singing its praises earlier, and I still definitely think you should play it. That's how I would rank them. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna say the same thing, but I'm gonna say Spider-Man first because Spider-Man is one of the rare games that I've actually gone through and played the story again. Not a lot of
Oh,
games have done that.
yeah.
Like I went through and played it up the difficulty and played it through because the combat, the gameplay is so fun. Swinging feels so good. There's no
Yeah.
other open world game where you're going to be able to swing around from point to point, and they try to recreate New York as much as possible. The Marvel version of New York. So you got like Stark Tower and the Baxter Building and
Yeah.
the Sanctum Sanctorum all in there. Spider-Man, but that's only if you have PS4. You can only play it on there. And Horizon Zero Dawn is only on PS4 because that would be my number 2 choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hummer's never going to play those games apparently.
Never.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the story for Spider-Man is amazing. I think that's probably why I give the edge to those two over Breath of the Wild, is because Breath of the Wild it's a Zelda game, so you're Link, and a lot of like he doesn't talk, so a lot of what your experience is you projecting your experience onto Link. But the main characters for Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and for Horizon Zero Dawn, Aloy are their own characters. So you're really learning about their story. And the reason I give Horizon Zero Dawn there's a bunch of reasons, but I think the main story-driven reason is like Spider-Man it's an excellent retelling of the Spider-Man story, but it is like Peter Parker's story, and his relationships with characters that are already established. And it's a great take on it. It's fresh and original, and it's made me very emotional. But but Horizon Zero Dawn is its own. It's a new original universe with a new original main character who has her own experience that she goes through, and there's like a deeper societal message that underlies the entire game. That game is so good. I'm so pumped for the next one to come out.
Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn is absolutely, the story is 100% fantastic. But if you don't have a PlayStation, you're not playing it. So if you don't have a PlayStation, but maybe you got Xbox and Game Pass, check out Red Dead Redemption 2, because here's why. This is actually a segment. I haven't talked to you guys about it, or not a segment, but an idea for a show. I wanted to come up with a really good video game movie pairing. So playing Red Dead Redemption 2 and then like watching Django Unchained or watching Hateful Eight and drinking whiskey is
Ooh.
and then or like watching maybe like the first season of Westworld all go so well together. I had a lot of fun playing Red Dead and then like watching Django and jumping back into Red Dead. So an idea for a
Nice.
future show would be like video game pairings.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Yeah, send the wife to grandma's and break out the Red Dead 2.
Hummer, what about you? Oh, you already said. My bad.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys mean by having to send the wife and kids away to play Red Dead Redemption 2.
All right, we're running out of time here. So anything personal you guys want to mention that you're working on before we sign off here?
Battle Los Angeles is on Netflix. I will definitely be popping that in. Rick and Morty, I know you guys have talked about it enough, and my brother finally asked me if I was watching it, and so I didn't want to feel like such a loser anymore.
Malaka.
So, I did, find this awesome show called Ball Fondler.
I can't believe you haven't watched Rick and Morty. I won't recreate my reaction, but I had a visceral reaction before the show when you told me that you haven't seen Rick and Morty yet.
Hey, you know what? I don't mean to rub this in, but having discovered Rick and Morty means I get to experience it all for the very first time while I'm in quarantine.
I'm actually pretty jealous of you.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so good.
Rick and Morty is amazing. How about you, Tito? Big loser.
I know. I feel like I had something and I don't remember what it is.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you've probably been watching Too Hot to Handle on Netflix.
Too hot to handle. I've been looking up a lot of hentai. That actually does remind me. All right, let me take a clip.
Yeah, that
Pause.
I am cutting that audio clip for sure.
Yeah. So
Posting
all right.
it. No, and
So
posting it.
everyone pause for a second. So what I've been personally working on is I'm a huge nerd, as you picked up on. So I like a good anime every now and then. One that I worked on a couple of years ago was Bleach. It's anime. It's on Netflix. They released 3 seasons a couple of years ago, and it's one of those things where it took years for the new seasons to come in. But seasons 4 and 5 of Bleach just came out on Netflix. So it's not too intense. It's one that you can put on in the background while you're doing other stuff, which is what I do. So I've watched a couple of episodes. The premise, if you haven't seen it, is that they're like essentially angels, demons. Demons come to Earth. They're kind of like taking people's souls. There are angel type characters called soul reapers that fight the demons, prevent them from eating all the humans. And it's basically the interaction between those two people. And there's wacky characters and inappropriate objectification of women, all that good stuff.
Your favorite.
But I've been working my way through that. If you don't like anime, I understand anime is not for everyone. So I would just put this, and this isn't even my favorite anime of all time, but it's a nice one to go through. So I'd put this at like a 3 out of 5 if you like anime. If you don't, like a 2 out of 5. It's okay.
You said Bleach?
It's called Bleach. Yep.
It's also a good cure for coronavirus.
Only if you inject it.
Yeah.
Mainline it.
Yeah.
I've been reading this book. It's called Steal Like an Artist. So I read that. It's a really good book by the author. I don't have it here. I forgot it, so I can't tell you. I have to look it up. He wrote 2 books. So the first book, Steal Like an Artist. It's all about how there's no such thing as an original idea. All artists and from everything, movies, TV, painters, they all kind of like borrow ideas from other artists. So it's why it's okay, but how to make it your own. And then he wrote a second book called Show Your Work, and it's all about just putting your content out in the world. So if you're like us, putting content out there or working on your own stuff, definitely worth picking up. They're both like $10. You can both read them in one poop or one Overwatch session, as Tito calls it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. And getting ready for next week's episode. Yeah. I'm also reading Movies and Other Things, and we're going to get into chapter 3 this week, but it sounds like we ran out of time, so we're going to have to push it off until next week. But thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching our episode. If you have any suggestions for something you want us to check out, please hit us up. We're at TimeSyncPod on Twitter, Instagram, on YouTube. Check us out wherever you download your podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify now. And thanks for watching.
Or listening.
Yeah, my bad. Let's cut that out. Thanks for listening. Oh, well, I'm going to put us up on YouTube, so that counts.
Oh, I'm leaving that in for sure.
Damn it.
I let you do it twice just so I could be like, yes, got him. You just got jammed.
I'm out of vodka soda, so the episode's over.
All right. And